just watched a documentary on Netflix called Poisoned. It's an hour and 20 fucking minutes about our food industry. And it starts off with this montage of politicians saying, we have the safest food supply in the world, like one after another. But the video will be like rat shit and food and like a dead cat falling into the bin of rice or something. And it's all they have a few central characters. One of them is a lawyer who was the guy who stuck it to Jack in the Box back in the day when they killed those kids. You may not know it. Late 70s, early 80s, there was an incident, maybe Ohio and New Jersey, can't remember exactly. Jack in the Box killed some kids, basically. Whoa. They undercooked their hamburgers, and the meat had E. coli 0157 in it. And so both of those contributed to a lot of kids dying, hundreds of kids being poisoned. And what you got to understand, this isn't just food poisoning. We've probably all had one kind of E. coli or another.
This was 1992, 1993, by the way. It's called the Great Jack in the Box E. coli outbreak. Sorry.
Yeah, it's this E. coli 0157 stuff is just deadly. Apparently, it goes into your gut and it produces this stuff called Shiga toxin, which then gets in your bloodstream, kills your red blood cells. All those red blood cells make your kidneys failure, and then there's a cascade reaction where it kills one organ after another. And I'm not talking about over weeks and months. One day you have diarrhea, the next day you are in a coma and dying. The third day you are dead. And it happened to tons of children, and they didn't know what it was at first, so there's this delayed reaction, and this lawyer really stuck it to Jack in the Box, got each kid like millions and millions of dollars. Some of them to this day are like, some of these kids have to learn to walk again. Like it's weird neurological nerve damage that they receive from this stuff. And the deal was at that time, E. coli 0157 was just considered something that might be on beef. You know, it's not, if you were to test the beef at the plant and they're like, yeah, E. coli again, when you know it, pack it up. Because it was considered to be the customer's problem at that point. It's like, cook your meat, cook the E. coli out of it. And so what had happened was at those Jack in the Boxes in particular in the Northeast or wherever, they had a regulation that had changed recently that said, you got to cook your burgers to 155 degrees. That's what we want. And they're like, nah, it makes them tough. They said that in a memo, maybe an email. That makes them tough. So they've got them saying, hey, 155 will make our beef healthier and safer. And them going, makes the burgers tough. And then a pile of dead children. So Jack in the Box paid through the fucking nose. And then this documentary goes on to explain why we have these salmonella outbreaks now. And it's because all of the leafy greens on the fucking planet, I'm talking about if you're in Thailand or Japan tonight and you have a romaine salad, it's grown in Arizona. It's grown in Arizona. That's where it came from. They grow it in these huge, massive irrigation fields that are right next to the concentrated cattle lots.
Oh, and nice. That's convenient.
All of that. And the so all of that shit and water is flowing out of them down a trough into an irrigation ditch. And that's being spritzed on all of the vegetables that everyone eats. And so all you need is
extra
one
seasoning.
Cow.
Yes.
One cow in that feedlot to get to shit. And it's 0157. And then that shit goes into the water and gets sprayed on one head of lettuce. Then that head of lettuce, you ever buy a spring mix? How many heads of lettuce is that spring mix incorporated into that bag?
A lot.
Are they even from the same field, from the same part of the same state, from the same grower? Who knows? You could be covering an acre worth of land. That's the potential for shit being sprayed on your food. Mm-hmm. And you don't wash romaine lettuce. Who likes a hot salad, right?
Yeah.
So you're rinsing it off, and that doesn't kill the bacteria. The same thing is true with sprouts, but romaine lettuce and baby spinach seem to be the number one danger things. There was a 17-year-old girl who got crippled in the middle of the documentary, and it was I think it was lettuce from Panera Bread or something, or something like that. And they're always a little queasy. They're always a little weird about saying shit. I love one of the scientists just said shit. He was like, you got these animals shitting, and that shit gets sprayed on our food, and then we eat the shit. And I was like, thank you for explaining it, because no one else.
That's how you have to say it. No, because someone's going to be like, and you can see the fecal matter actually goes inside of the liquid and then it spreads in a blossoming matter. It's like, no, just tell me, is there shit in there? I need to know. right now.
That's like the kind of guy who would like be brought up in front of our
die.
geriatric retard politicians on one of those things, and he'd be like, "There's shit all over the food," and they'd be like, "Whoa, English, like leave your technology and your diplomas at the door. I'm 102." Like,
there was a peanut plant here in Georgia that was so filthy. For one thing, there were holes in the roof, and the bird shit was just, when it would just rain down into the food. And so all sorts of like viruses from birds potentially that can cross over, and all sorts of illnesses, right? Yeah. Rat shit everywhere, dead rats everywhere. And they have memos there too, where he's like, get the product and get it shipped. And they're like, well, we'll have to clean the dirt and shit off of it first. And he's like, clean it and ship it. And it's like all right there in black and white. And he was this old multimillionaire that had been doing Georgia peanuts for decades. The guy only gave him 3 months. And he poisoned so much. So the thing is, everything has a little bit of peanut in it. So they couldn't, all the Keebler cookies in the country had to be thrown out, right? Really? And then like all the peanut butter and all the peanut snacks, that it was so many products. Call it 300 different products. If it's one product, it's like, all right, get rid of all the fruit bars. Mm-hmm. But it was hundreds of products that had his poisoned peanuts in them that had to be thrown out.
I'm assuming he's not in business anymore.
I bet he is.
Is that where we get all of our peanuts in the U.S. from Georgia?
Georgia has to be numero uno. We do a ton here. There could be a neighboring state that does it cheaper, but it has to be Georgia, I would think. That's kind of what we're known for. But it opened my eyes. I honestly am never going to have a romaine lettuce. I'm never going to, not a salad again. I'll never eat a salad again. It was so scary that I'm not going to risk eating salad over the potential.
What about like
damages.
A real good Caesar salad? Like pre-steak. You're not
I'm never going to have a salad again, because it doesn't matter how fancy your salad is, unless they're literally growing those greens themselves locally, then they could have sprayed it with some fucking shit, and you can't wash it off well enough to ensure that you won't die.
Do you have a farmer's market near you? Because I know it's a meme, but if you have one near you, people, go there and get all your vegetables there. It's 10,000 times better. It's not even close. A tomato from a grocery store isn't even a tomato.
You feel a little better buying from there too, because you at least know that, like, because you can talk to the farmer too and like kind of get an idea of like what they're about. Because we used to have this when I lived in San Francisco, when I was working at Twitch, we lived like out in a place called San Leandro. And they used to have this farmers market every Sunday, and we used to love to go there specifically because they made like this watermelon water that was god tier, like just fresh grinded watermelons. You're seeing them make it like right then and there. It's just utter perfection. And then fresh tamales and different like salsas and shit like that. Like, oh my god, it was so incredible. But my favorite part was going to the peanut farmers that were there, because they would have those like moist boiled peanuts, I guess.
Boiled. Like, they're boiled.
The boiled peanuts, and I never had one before, and it was so good. And we would just go back there all the time. I think did
they have different flavors, like Cajun maybe, or
some of them did. We usually stuck with the regular one because my wife liked to use it in a few dishes and stuff. But yeah, they were very delicious. And then obviously you just go and you speak to some of the farmers that. So like, because we used to like getting the whole head of lettuce, from the farmer. Because again, like we said, yes, those packages are nice and they are helpful and they are convenient, but you don't know where the hell all that shit's coming from. It's just because it's green, doesn't mean it was taken care of properly. And that's the thing that sucks, man.
The salmonella with chicken thing, I'd always heard that. So they get the guy who owns fucking Purdue. He's like the chicken man. Half the country in the country. He's in charge of. Yep.
He was in the documentary. Yeah. I think they mentioned him a few times in that chicken documentary, the chicken sandwich one.
And the other half is the Tyson guy. Yeah.
And they were like, we took 5 chickens from the grocery store and tested them, and one of them had salmonella, and it was a Purdue chicken. And he's like, okay, well, I mean, that's a small sample size, though. 5 packages, and one of them was ours. I would like to see a larger sample size. And they're like, well, what would you suggest? 150 birds in a short period of time. They immediately go buy 150 fucking birds and send them to the lab. 35% or something of Purdue chicken has salmonella on it when you buy it out of the package. And that's not just their chicken. Just when you buy chicken, just know there is a 1 in 3 chance that there is a poison on that chicken that could kill you. So cook your chicken 165 degrees and you'll live.
No, I like it medium rare.
Me too. I like a little pink in the middle.
Taylor likes his with just a little bit of blood.
Yeah,
there's nothing like chicken little chicken nigiri, right? Little rice, little.
I like a little. I made myself chicken tartare the other day. Absolutely delicious.
It has to be chilled. It has to be chilled just right.
Only if it's chilled, and honestly, the sides may have to be tasteful. Otherwise,
if 4 hours later you're not grievously ill, you didn't make it right.
Yeah, exactly. You know, if you're not shitting your pants, that's not good food. That's all I'm saying.
Dude, you want to lose weight? A little chicken tartare. That'll get you. That'll get you right where you need to be.
That's a fitness plan right there.
Diet.
I guarantee it. Like, I'm gonna be more careful when I cook because I've gotten food poisoning a lot. Usually
you
from
have
restaurants.
gotten it a baffling amount of times.
I eat risky foods and I eat risky times of day. I have.
This is good for you to watch because you are definitely more susceptible to food poisoning than other people. I bet you've doubled up me and Woody combined in the past few years.
I've eaten Red Lobster raw oysters before. Like,
why would you do that?
Red Lobster raw oysters.
Yeah, they have raw oysters at the Red Lobster, and I remember I was on a date once, and I was like, "Really? Well, give us a dozen." And they got there, and she's like, "I don't eat those." And I had to eat a dozen oysters as an appetizer. And by the 8th oyster, it was just for show.
Yeah, like you were committed.
It was just for show at this point. It was.
I love oysters.
Are you sure you don't want at least one oyster? Just trying to get them to take one off that plate so I have. They're getting warm now, but it's usually been.